It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That, of course, is the Mighty Metal Church from their debut release with the Gods of Wrath. And starting off the show tonight, we heard something from the second Lynch Mob self-titled release with Tangled in the Web. And this is Neeley, Tangled in the Web, along with my friend and partner, Chris Aiken, the God of Wrath himself. What's going on, Chris?
What's up, man? How are we?
Well, we're good. Good.
You made it home?
I did make it home. I'm home, and I'm safe and sound.
No difficulties, no flight problems, none of that kind of stuff?
No difficulties, no flight problems. I got home intact and in time, and no issues whatsoever.
Perfect. Well, then that's good.
Yeah, it was actually a very smooth weekend, I guess, or it was a long weekend. I flew out to L.A. on Thursday afternoon and returned Sunday evening, and it was all good.
Smooth like the vagina you slid into. I mean, the town you went to.
Yes. I went to Anaheim and went to the NAMM show and had a very good time.
Yeah, sounded like it. Sounded like, I didn't bring the audio to the show, but you were having a great time Friday night, it sounded like. You guys sounded fucking hammered.
Well, I wasn't so hammered as much as Bob and the Electric Boys, and Serena was with us, and Toby, of course, and, just a bunch of us hanging out. We sort of did we kind of migrated from one hotel room to the other. It was kind of like a traveling party.
All right.
And it started off in Bob's room. He and Toby had a suite so they could, film documentary segments.
Right, okay.
They wanted a front room. They wanted a room with like a couch and a backdrop, a little bit of a kind of a relaxed setting. And so they rented a suite with a living room area.
Right.
So they could set up the camera and interview different people, which, I was one of them, and Nader was there, and Jack Russell got interviewed, and, Bob just grabbed a bunch of different people, being that his room was basically one parking lot away from the convention center. The center is set up as the Sheraton is on one side, there's a courtroom, and
right.
a courtyard,
sure.
And then the Hilton is on the other side, and then the convention center sits right in the middle.
Okay.
So people kind of migrate back and forth between the hotels and the convention center because the hotels are actually connected to the convention center, so you can just kind of walk from the convention center right into the hotel lobby.
Sure.
Well, the parties really go on in the Hilton Hotel lobby.
Right.
And so when the NAMM shuts down, I think it shuts down at 6. I think the floor closes at 6. Then everybody heads to the hotel to go hang out, and they've got bands, and, people are partying and just, socializing and whatnot. And that's the place to be. So, we went back to Bob's room, and Nader showed up, and he did a segment, and we were just all in a very festive mood. And, of course, that's when the booze started flowing.
Right.
It's a Chris Aiken time.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it sounded like you guys called me at what would have been, about 9:30 your time?
Yeah, so it was like a little after 11 your time, or almost
after midnight.
Was it after midnight?
Yeah, it was 12:30, and you guys were, not you necessarily, but everybody else. Everybody sounded really hammered, which is fun. I love that,
Sure.
But then it also sounded like in theory, you thought that you were handing the phone off to somebody.
Right.
But they were just sort of setting it down and walking around the room while they were talking.
Yeah.
Because I would hear Toby, and he'd start telling me a story about, and everything was the drunken, I wish you were here, dude. Stuff. Bro, I wish you were here because it would be so cool if you were here. But you're not, man.
Yeah.
That's how it really sounded.
Sure. Well, the guys from the Electric Boys were there, and they had a room, and they had this really cool little Marshall stack. It was like a little portable speaker, is what it was.
Okay.
And they had it connected to the iPhone, and so we were just jamming out to stuff like Michael Schenker Group and
Right.
older rock and some of the 80s stuff and whatever, and just cranking it out, and having some drinks and laughing and cutting up and talking, and you know how it goes. It was more just a kind of a big social event.
It wasn't the backtrack speaker, was it?
I don't know what they called it. It was just, it looks like a Marshall stack. That's, just looks like a Marshall head is what it looks like.
You remember that, don't you? From the back, the AC/DC backtrack.
Yeah, I remember that. Those guys, oh, rock and roll. Ooh, this is the greatest. Well, it was similar to that. It was a Marshall head.
Right.
Okay. But it's a speaker, so you could run your audio through it, and and that little thing just cranked out the tunes,
Oh, perfect.
So we were just kind of hanging out there for a while, and then we decided we would go down to the Hilton and see what was going on, on the main floor down there, and checking that out a little bit and hanging out, and it was just a good hang. It's just hanging with good friends.
Well, that's good, man. It sounded like you guys had a good time, and I don't know if she told you, but I had a very long conversation yesterday for about 4 hours with Serena. And,
by way of text?
By way of text,
yes,
yeah.
She did mention that.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth forever, and it sounded like she had a great time. So, and she was sending me some other pictures that, that were not posted, of hanging out with different rock stars and whatever. And boy, the rock stars really don't mind hugging up on her. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed themselves.
The one picture of Gus G and her.
Yeah.
Gus G looks like he's there with his chick.
Right.
He's got like that firm hug thing going on.
Sure. Yeah, very nice guy.
He's like, yeah, I'm sure, especially when you put a hottie next to him.
Right.
Like, hey, baby.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun, and Bob introduced us, and I introduced myself to Gus, and he goes, yeah, I've been on your show.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you remember? Oh, yeah, I know who you are.
Did you actually do an interview with him?
No, I wasn't really prepared. That was one of those deals that Bob was set up with Dustin
Hardman.
Yeah, Dust Hardman, and I got to meet him in person. And Dustin is like, "Do you want to jump in on an interview?" I said, I'm not really prepared." I said, "I know that the record just came out today, and I'm sure that will be on the interview cycle, but." Had I known, because I didn't know until minutes before. Right. That we were going to meet Gus, and I was just like, I'm not really in interview mode right now.
Right. Yeah, so I'm actually interviewing him Monday at 8 a.m.
All right, well, there you go.
So, I mean, it's happening, but I was like, well, I might not have to get up at 8 a.m. if you did one.
No, I didn't do one. I could have, but I didn't.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
I hear you. Hail and Kill, caller, you're on the air.
NAMM sounds like a great deal of fun. Hail and Kill, boys.
Hey, it's Tim James. What's going on, Tim? You don't normally call in this early. This is usually reserved for John Rufo to call in.
Well, I'm just so busy these days.
Oh, you are? What are you busy with, Tim? Fill us in. Give us a day in the life of Tim James in Australia.
Well, I've gone back to uni. I'm recording. I've got 40 shows between now and the end of June. I've got band rehearsals. I've got duo rehearsals. Life is full as my ball sack.
So your wife isn't doing her job then if your ball sack is full, huh?
Or your guy.
Just on the Electric Boys. Were they a good band or not?
They were kind of different. They kind of had, they were kind of like a funky groove band. Yeah. They weren't like straight up hard rock or anything. They were a little bit different. They had a different twist. Yeah, I'm sure you could find some of their music out there, but they were kind of like a groove band.
I'll just say no, they were not very good. Although "Lips and Hips" is a very good song. I had that Carpet Ride album, whatever that's called, Funk-a-Metal Carpet or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, Funk-a-Metal Carpet Ride or something.
Yeah, that album sucks a bag of dicks, except for the one song, which is really good.
Okay, and so are they back together gigging, or are they?
No. They do. They do rep. They rep equipment and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Which
cool.
a lot of the artists who aren't working, as musicians, if they're not making a living as musicians, they work for various equipment manufacturers.
Yeah, the guitar player that plays on all my stuff goes to NAMM all the time because he manages one of probably the biggest music retailer here in New South Wales.
Is his name Tim James?
What was that?
Is his name Tim James, one of the biggest musical artists in Australia?
No, I'm one of the biggest musical artists in my head.
All right.
No. Yeah, my best mate.
Your best mate, is that a code word for you're on being on the down low?
No, and it doesn't mean we've had sex either.
Okay, well, that's all right. So it's your best mate. Okay, your best mate.
My best friend.
Okay.
And he plays guitar and all my stuff, but he manages this huge music retailer, so he goes to NAMM every year, and it's apparently insane out there.
It's insane, Tim. It is. It's insane. I'm surprised I made it back alive. But anyway, what's your point? The other thing I've been doing, I just went and saw Airborne. Have you guys seen Airborne yet? I have not seen them live.
I have seen them live. They are very strong.
Yeah, this is the fourth time I've saw them, and I met the guys afterwards because I've known their manager for 20 years.
Okay.
But they were just phenomenal. They were absolutely phenomenal, and off to Guns N' Roses in 2 weeks, and then Thunder's coming here, Chris, for the first time ever.
Wow.
I'm gonna go and see them. I'm gonna go and see them on the 7th of March, I think.
Oh, I just got their book. I got their book on Wednesday.
What, from Joel? Did Joel send it to you?
Yep. No, somebody else did.
Yeah. No, it should be very, very cool. Anyway, I just thought I'd call in and say Happy Morbi, Happy New Year. I'm still listening. I don't always have the time to call in because it's so full on.
Well, we missed you, Tim. But, I mean, the show just isn't the same without your presence.
Well, somebody texted me on Facebook the other day and said, your insights missed on the Classic Metal Show. I said, well,
all right,
thank you very much.
Your manager's saying you got to go now.
Yeah, I got to go. Fuck off, pal. Helen kill.
Fuck off, pal.
All right, thank you. See you, Tim.
That's a new twist. Fuck off, pal. Nice. So anyway, getting back to the whole NAMM thing. So I flew into LA Thursday afternoon. I got in around 4.
Right.
And as much as I was looking forward to going to Southern California to escape the doldrums of winter,
right,
it wasn't much nicer out there.
You got shitty cold weather there, right?
It was cold and rainy. I mean, it was raining.
Jeez, California.
Oh, yeah. I lived out there for 6 years. In the 6 years that I lived there, I don't think I've seen it rain that hard in California.
Yeah.
So it was just pouring down the rain. Now, I'll tell you the only real frustrating part that I had during the whole trip was getting my rental car.
Really?
Yeah. I rented a car through Hertz.
Okay.
And all the major car rental places have their outposts. They're not right within the LAX proper. They're within a mile of the airport, and they have all these big shuttle buses that will pick you up. At the vestibule.
Right.
So I got on the Hertz bus, and they take me over to the Hertz place. I've rented from Hertz many times over the years.
Sure.
And I get off the Hertz bus, go inside, wait in line, get up to the counter, and the girl goes, "Oh, this isn't the Hertz office you should be at." I said, "There's another one?" And she goes, well, yeah. She says, the one that you need to be at is the one in the Hilton out on Century Boulevard, which was about a mile and a half away.
Okay.
And I go, well, why would they have an office a mile from here? This is like a big... She goes, well, it's just the way that they divided it up now. And she was just going through this whole rigmarole. And I said, well, how do I get down there? And she says, well, I'll just have one of our guys. He'll just, one of the guys that take the car return. I'll just have him grab one of the return cars and take you down there.
Okay.
So not a big deal. This guy said, hey, I'm told I need to run you down to the other Hertz office.
Right.
So I said, all right. So this guy, mind you, we're not that far from the hotel. And he's like, he goes, now, where is it? Where is it? He's like, looking. And, these hotels are, fairly tall structures. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're skyscrapers, but they're at least 30 stories.
Right. Okay.
So, and they got the big emblem on the top, so it wasn't hard to see. I'm just like, well, it's right over there, So this guy takes me over to the Hilton, drops me off.
Yeah.
I go into the Hilton, go through the lobby and whatnot, find the little office.
Right.
And there's a guy standing there getting his car squared away. So I'm waiting. About 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I walk up and I give the guy my reservation, and he goes, oh, you're not at the right one. You need to be at the Sheraton next door.
Fuck you.
I said, what? He goes, yeah. He said the Sheraton, the Hertz office at the Sheraton. I said, why do you guys got so many different places? He's just... So he goes, well, if you go out the door, go down a block, it's right next door.
Meanwhile, if you'd have had like 3 bags, you were fucked.
Pretty much, yeah. Fortunately, I carried 1 carry-on.
Right.
So I went down there and, waited in line and, got up to, so I asked the girl, I said, what is the deal? She goes, oh, I don't know. They just kind of diversified us here, that the corporate rentals are at the main place, and then the individual rentals are here at the hotel. I said, well, how would I know to do that?
Yeah.
And she goes, I don't know. A lot of people get confused. And I said, yeah, I could see that. So needless to say, that's the last time I'll be renting from Hertz.
All right. So
I'm not doing that anymore. That was ridiculous. It took from the time I landed to the time I finally got my car, I lost almost 2 hours.
So now you're like, hello, budget rent-a-car.
Exactly. So here it is. It's about 6:00.
Right.
So I got a hold of Don. I just like, I'm here in town. You want to get together for dinner sometime? He goes, yeah, dinner's cool with me. Why don't you meet me, a little bit later? I'm just like, all right. Well, I didn't have any plans anyway.
Right.
So I drove up to West Hollywood, which is only 15 miles from the airport.
Okay.
So I ran up there, and he texts me back. He says, I made dinner reservations for us at a place called Roku. Fairly new place. It's literally on Sunset Boulevard, right near the Beverly Hills, West Hollywood line.
Okay.
Actually, it's right down the street from the Whiskey.
Yeah.
And, kind of right next to where the Key Club, Gazzari's is, where it was. So anyway, I had about an hour and, I don't know, maybe hour and a half to kill. So, I went to the Rainbow. I thought, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to see the Lemmy statue. Going to see the tribute to Lemmy and all that kind of stuff, which I did. It's cool. It's nice to see this guy enshrined that way.
Surprised you didn't throw a picture out.
I should have, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So I went in there and sat at the bar and had a couple Jack and Cokes and just kind of took in the atmosphere and, just sat there enjoying a couple of drinks.
Any bands playing?
No, it was still early. It was only 6:00. They don't get things. They don't get things rolling until later in the evening. So it was only 6:30.
Okay, yeah.
So the place wasn't even busy yet.
Right.
It's a Thursday night in 6:30 in the evening, so it's not like a lot of things are going to go on there.
Sure. But
anyway, I went to the Whiskey, hung out there for about an hour and a half, and then went down the road there and met Don at this. It was kind of like a hibachi place.
Okay.
And he came down, met me down there, and we sat and had some dinner and just shot the shit about stuff. Just hanging out.
That's cool.
Just kind of like two bros and whatnot, and So he was telling me that all the rain, he lives up in the Beverly Hills. And all this rain that they've been having, because it had been raining days before I got there, I guess it's causing mudslides up there.
Okay,
and he's got a main house, and he's got like a guest house behind his house.
Okay.
Well, I guess a mudslide slid down, and it slid into the guest house, and it like killed the hot water heater in the utility room. So he said he was busy replacing the hot water heater because he rented the guest house out to some producer who works in the movie industry, but he wasn't in town. He was over in like England or something like that. So Don wanted to get the place fixed before the guy got back,
Wow. Living the life of a rock star.
Exactly. Replacing water heaters.
Right.
So, I asked him, I said, so you going to come down to NAMM? He goes, yeah, I need to go down to the Sennheiser booth. He said, because, I got this new Sennheiser microphone and it just isn't working right. He said, the higher I sing, the more compressed it gets. And, Jeff Pilson looked at it, and it's like it's wired backwards or something.
Okay.
And he said, just isn't right. So I want to go down to NAMM. So maybe I'll meet you down there. So next day, I got going down to NAMM. Toby and Bob were interviewing Jack Russell in the morning, and they were taking care of that. And then I met up with them around 1:00 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So we hooked up over there and started, just kind of making our way through the floor down there. And that's when I started running into different people that, I took pictures with, which you posted on the Facebook.
Sure.
And it was just, hanging out and checking out equipment and, meeting people. And, Bob and Toby and his camera guy, they were all just looking for different people that they were going to just grab a couple of minutes with. And so that's basically what we did for most of the evening before we went back to Bob's room and, did the documentary filming stuff before the Electric Boys party.
Right. Sure.
So that's how that evening went.
Nice.
So the time goes very quickly.
Sure it does.
And then Saturday. You know who emailed me this week and told me he went out to NAMM and was just out there on Saturday?
Who?
George Mahalovic.
Really?
Yeah, he said he and a buddy flew out there at the last minute to go to NAMM on Saturday. And he said, I kept thinking, I wonder if Neeley came out this year. I wonder if he came out. And he goes, sure as shit. There was I saw it on Monday or Tuesday where it popped up where it says Neeley checks in from NAMM.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, I should have got a hold of you. Because it just didn't occur to me until I saw that. And then I thought, I bet you he's out here somewhere.
Sure.
So George was out there. Of course, I didn't know that.
Right.
But then Saturday came and it was pouring the rain and, it wasn't very nice. But, I got a hold of Don and I said, hey, are you going to come down today? And he's just like, you know what? The power's been out. My street is closed. Everything's flooded up here. I can't get out of the house.
Nice.
So there you go. And then I ran into the shoe.
Yeah, I saw that.
I ran into the shoe and his mom, Kimmy.
Yeah.
And hung out with them for a little bit and chit-chatted a little bit. And, the shoe, nice kid. Can you believe it's been almost 4 years since we kind of goofed on him?
Has it really? Wow.
Yeah. So the thing is even though I had met him last year and then, I ran into him again this year, again, he goes, you can't even believe how helpful you guys have been to me.
Really?
He says, with all that shenanigans with us picking on him and talking about his lisp and everything, he said all that did was inspire him to try harder and went to speech therapy, and got that cleaned up. And, because he really likes the whole broadcasting thing, right?
Right, sure.
And so his mom, of course, she was kind of cutting up a little bit too. And she's just like, yeah, so you owe me a few $100s.
Yeah, okay, sure. I'd have to earn it a different way, Kimmy.
So very nice. I ran into him a couple of times while I was down there.
That's cool.
And
so his thing is still going strong.
His
huh?
thing is going strong. He was doing a thing with Carmine a piece,
Okay.
a little interview thing on Saturday afternoon, and I was trying to find his booth because I wanted to stop by and see how he conducted himself.
Sure.
But that place is so huge, I couldn't find exactly where he was doing this thing at.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I did run into him later. But apparently he's got a gig, an actual gig on a FM station.
Good for him.
So he's actually doing some kind of radio on terrestrial radio.
Hey, good for him, man. That's great.
So between juggling school and doing his part-time gigs and doing his podcast and all that, he's a pretty busy kid.
Yeah, no kidding. Good on him, man.
Yeah, so there's another one inspired by the classic metal show, those evil bastards.
Us dicks.
Yeah. And then we ran into Brian Schlegel, and I ran into, of course, Willie Bass, and I ran into the guys from Armored Saint and David Ellefson and Chris Broderick and George Lynch, and I was standing there. George Lynch had done a showcase.
Yeah.
And Bob and I and Toby and we were up there just kind of walking around, and we walked into the SB booth, and there's George just standing there.
Nice.
So I just walked up there. I go, "Hey, what's up, George?" He just kind of like looked at me, and I said, "Let's grab a picture real quick." And then this other guy grabs me by the sleeve. He goes, "Hey, are you Neeley?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm Jay Palmer." I'm just like, wow, okay, cool.
How you doing?
Yeah. So, we've had Jay on the show a couple of times.
Sure.
So it was kind of cool. And, people who, knew Bob or just happened to see me with Bob or, whatnot. Several people walked up to me over the course of the time that I was out there to say that they're avid listeners.
Well, good. Somebody needs to.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool to be kind of recognized like that in a way.
Right.
But to know that other people, around the world are just, checking out the show.
It is always interesting. I mean, famous people, that's cool. But I'm just always interested, even on like Facebook, when just a new name pops up.
Right.
Just name I haven't seen before. And I'll be like, yeah, I've been listening for 2 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll look them up, and they're in fucking, I don't know, Wyoming or somewhere.
Sure.
And I'm like, Jesus, how do we even reach these people?
Well, whatever it is we're doing well. I know I shot you some stats this week.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to cross our 3 million download right around June 7th. So somewhere around the first week of June, we're going to be hitting 3 million.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 3 million.
Yeah, we crossed 2 million August 17th last year. So we're gonna do 1 million downloads in less than 10 months.
Well, we've done 500,000 in less than 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So thank you, fans. Thank you for digging the show.
Yeah, and it was a slow week this week because there wasn't many episodes.
Yeah, but well, speaking of that, that pretty much wraps up my summary of the NAMM. It was just a good time, but the weather just was lousy. It was just shit.
That sucks.
Yeah. But Toby knows the Bay Boys, which I told you last week on my call. So we're going to have to get Toby to call in and kind of give us the lowdown on the Bay Boys.
Right.
And see, because he does has some info on the Bay Boys.
Okay.
As far as, what people in the local area think of them.
Right.
So I think that'll be pretty funny. So we'll have to get Toby on here. But